would try to work with me. They couldn't handle me, or it was too much. And I got kicked to the curb, and this place here never turned its back on me through the whole process. And I realized I was bonding to all these negative things, and I didn't know how to bond from a child.
Yeah.
I haven't visited yet. I'm the guy since I was a kid. I store everything on the inside, and then after a while, I just blow up like a bomb.
Welcome to the Recovery Roundtable podcast, where the journey to sobriety opens up through powerful discussions and shared experiences. Join your host, Mark, who will bring you stories of triumph and resilience from the heart of Pacific Shores recovery. Every episode offers insights and support, guiding you through the challenges of addiction recovery. Thank you for joining our community. If you're ready to start or continue your recovery journey, we're here to inspire and support you. Let's explore recovery together.
Well, Sammy, this is awesome, man. I'm so glad that you're here to just kind of share your experience and your story. And why don't you kind of share of a little bit where you're from and what led you here?
Well, I'm from Houston, Texas, but I have a lake house in Cold Spring, Texas. I bought the house after I got out of Harris County Veterans Treatment Court, and I just wanted to be away from a lot of people. And then PTSD from the war took a really big toll on me. So that was my way of getting out the city, getting out of my old programming. And then I actually died, came back to life from a pacemaker. From a heart surgery, and heart failed again and had to get a pacemaker. And that's when I hit my low. And nothing.
We dive into the whole heart thing in the military.
Yeah.
So did you know from a young age you wanted to be in the military?
Not really. It was a way to get away from home and to get benefits that I needed. I almost got kicked out the first year just because I couldn't adjust to authority.
So what do you mean? Like, what are some of the things that happened?
Got into fights with the drill sergeants. I didn't trust even my team. It was just, me and trucking my way. And then one day, instead of getting kicked out, a captain, he said, I reminded me of him, and he showed me that there is a team, that there is family, and that he had my back all the way through basic training.
So he saw something in you that reminded him of himself, even though with the defiance and the different things that said, I want to invest into you. How did it feel to hear somebody believe in you like that?
It was good, because for the first time in my life, I had somebody who really had my back, and then didn't have my back just for being transactional.
Yeah. So you ended up not getting kicked out. You stayed in. You finished the basic training. Then what happened from there?
From there, I ended up going to AIT, getting my MOS training. And then from there, I went to a unit that was already being deployed to Iraq.
Okay.
Operation Iraqi Freedom.
I remember that. So you were deployed.
I was deployed too.
So what was that experience like? This episode is brought to you by Pacific Shores. We have been an industry leader for over 25 years in the mental health and addiction space. We have helped thousands and thousands of individuals and families reclaim their lives. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please reach out so we can do this together. Our number is 949-749-7317.
A lot of the training was harsh. It was, one shot, one kill, no mercy. It was, they trained us in, terroristic, counterterrorism tactics.
Okay.
So just the training and being prepared it takes a toll, and it actually, in my opinion, it was the start of cranking up my PTSD.
When you say crank it up, was there something earlier where you started to recognize some of that?
In my training, I started realizing that I had PTSD from growing up in my childhood. It was a very abusive household, and because I was a child and doing lots of fights and assaults, I ended up in boot camp for kids, like pretty much a Scared Straight program. And that's a lot of my stuff. It was just, I numbed it out from childhood.
So as you're numbing it out, you're going through the boot camp, you get turned on to the military, you say, well, I can kind of do this. You find someone that believes in you, you get deployed, the PTSD now starts hitting.
Yes.
And then, so what was that like during that time then when you came back to civilianhood?
It hit me bad because I would do what they call combat shopping, where you go to the store where like middle of the night, nobody's there, get everything you needed for the month. Noises, smells, crowds. But for a while, it was masked because I went into private security work, and being hypervigilant and being paranoid. All that stuff is what kept you alive. When I stopped that, that's when I got arrested, and I had a PTSD, really bad PTSD attack. I was out with the guys at a club. We do security at a little drink there, and something happened. A guy came with a gun. I stopped him, and then when I got home, lights were out, and I accidentally, in a PTSD attack, I kicked my fiance in the stomach, thinking she was a terrorist. And then she was 6 months pregnant, and we lost it. And then from there, I ended up pretty much in mental hospitals because of the shame and the guilt.
Yeah, that's a lot to carry, man.
Yeah.
So you end up in some mental hospitals. What happened from there? How did you continue to cope with that?
I'd get better for a while because back then I didn't have the insurance I have now. So I would just keep going to the VA groups, keep taking the same cocktail, and it never worked. And then finally, I've been in and out of treatment, I don't know, over 10 times. So for a while, I was just cocaine, and I was dealing with it with just weed, alcohol, meth. I was a junkie,
Yes.
and that's how I was dealing with it. And then, and this is over the years. And then out of nowhere, I found out this place takes my insurance, so I came here.
So you find different substances that allow you to temporarily cope with some of
Yes.
the trauma and the guilt and the shame. But it sounds like, did it progressively get worse?
It got worse. I got to the point where I didn't trust anyone. I got to the point where I was just a lone ranger, and it got worse after my heart surgeries because, there's no cure for what I have yet. But I went on this path like I'm going to die, so I got to live my life to the fullest. And I started accomplishing my story, started helping me accomplish things, even though I've seen myself as a failure and a junkie and a bad person. My story was inspiring other people's lives. So that part right there kept me going. But I just hit a point where I was at my lowest. I remember being on the side of the road outside a VA hospital talking to Laura here. And since then, I made major strides here at Pack Shores.
That's beautiful, man. So one thing you share that is incredible is it sounds like you were sharing once you kind of got to the end, you're going, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to share my story. And as you did, it started resonating with other people that have been through similar things. And then that kind of kept you going. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, it opened up all the doors for me, especially with, I went to a competition for pretty much speaking or telling your story. And my story won with Grant Cardone, the Great American Speak Off. And through that, one of my biggest things is I had a lot of hard skills, and communicating was never my strong suit. So learning to communicate through that, I was able to realize, and then that, because of the money and the things that I was winning, it opened up so many doors for me. But at the same time, I was letting the money and the luxury and everything go to my head. So my career was always great, but personally, I was drowning.
So career continued to take strides, but that part of you still carried the guilt and the shame, and that's where the sedation process happened.
Yeah.
And then so you said you came through this program. What do you think changed in you that allowed you to start to go through the healing process?
Honestly, coming here, the first time in my life, I've been in a lot of places and I've been blessed to go there, but to community here, since when I came through these doors psychotic and my meds were all screwed up, everyone just showed me, that's where it started, that I was safe. And as I started going through the program and feeling more safe and realizing that, because before people would try to work with me, they couldn't handle me or it was too much. And I got kicked to the curb, and this place here never turned its back on me through the whole process.
And so one of the things you shared before, and it sounds like a pattern, is people say they have your back, but you can feel it. What's the difference between hearing someone say, I've got your six, and actually feeling them, like covering your six?
For me, the actions here, they actually showed me. Each provider here that you have, they share parts of their stories. And when you share it, that helps to bond. But the main thing is you can just feel the love here. And I was fighting the love because since an early age, love and vulnerability wasn't safe. And the more that I got love here, the more you guys worked with me, and especially a doctor that actually will listen to you, like Doc Kelly, and let's go through your meds instead of just, here you go, take these cocktail. It's like the same. They give them to every single person, but I started seeing the love, and then something magical just started happening to me through therapy and stuff. Like it was layers, but first I got bursted open layer after layer, and then my emotions came out. And then the more that I started dealing with my emotions, out of nowhere, I just started getting all the good feelings, like love and happiness.
Yeah, do you mind if we dig into that
Yeah.
a little bit more? Because a lot of the times we sedate to numb the emotions
Yep.
and the feelings, and our stories get louder and louder. And you mentioned safety and vulnerability.
Yeah.
Can we kind of dissect what led to you? Because it's a process that's not forced. It can't be forced, and it always takes the individual to have that trust to open up. So how did you go from that, from what you shared with your childhood and different things, to get to that place?
Well, part of it was the medication regimen that I'm on for my chemical imbalance.
Okay.
So when I'm chemically unbalanced, I'm psychotic and I get delusional. And for the longest, that's the biggest part, in my opinion. And there's two parts to it: medication and in therapy. And like you said, remember the time you said, let's dissect this, and I wasn't ready. But as I got ready and we went through the module and we worked through everything, I started realizing that good, bad, or ugly, it feels good. Because before I started feeling great and happy and smiling, I was actually able to go through the grieving process with myself of everything that I lost, everything that I've done. And then I realized that feelings weren't bad. You didn't have to shut them down. But like I said, it's a medication process and the group therapy and the therapy that I've received here from the providers.
That's beautiful, man. The way that you shared that. One of the things you talked about is medication, but also the interpretation, the therapy. What are some of the things that allowed you to get to that place where you gave yourself permission to grieve?
Letting go and trusting everyone here. And when I call it soldier mode, and when I let that happen, I was able to drop the soldier mask. I didn't have to, because since I was a kid, I had to just rub dirt on it and keep moving forward. And dropping that and just allowing the providers to take me. They tried different modules with me, but one thing that was beneficial here, especially with Miss Lynn and Brad, is the grief loss, and they work on the bonding. And I realized I was bonding to all these negative things, and I didn't know how to bond from a child.
This episode is brought to you by Pacific Shores. We have been an industry leader for over 25 years in the mental health and addiction space. We have helped thousands and thousands of individuals and families reclaim their lives. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please reach out so we can do this together. Our number is 949-749-7317. And that's a huge part, is learning that process to go from, and you mentioned, like, from surviving to thriving, and it's a process.
Yeah.
So as you started to unpack, because a lot of people are scared or share they don't want to grieve because they don't want to relive or revisit the trauma. Are you open to kind of diving of anybody that might be on the fence of like, well, that's not for me because I don't want to keep going back to the past, and what your experience
Honestly,
was?
that was me, because before, when I would try to tackle the trauma, try to tackle the pain, it spun me out of control. And certain providers I have, they weren't really up to par. They would do their best at the VA. They would, the providers, they would try, but a lot of it is, now that I was able to do it, is the medication helps me. So now, being on medication, I don't spin out of control. I don't do this. And if I do, thank God, I have a medicine, because you can't always stop the PTSD and anxiety attacks. You can lessen them, but I have a medication that helps with that. But lately, I haven't had to been taking that, because I've been in group, and we're diving down to bonding and healing. But I was the first one. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to do it. I was just afraid of the outcome, because before I didn't handle it in a very constructive way.
Let's dive in because you mentioned of focusing on medication for a certain aspect, and then as you've been doing the work, you're no longer finding that you need to take certain medication. What's some of that work, and what are some of the positive benefits that you've seen from going all in on yourself?
I've been doing a lot of processing trauma with grief and loss. And another thing we did was like my life story. I'm realizing that I'm not alone. And it's like in the military and how veterans just bond right away. I have the camaraderie here of Pack Shores and from clients to have the support from the clients to the staff. And that just going through, I've never, just grief and loss. Actually, I'm letting myself, I'm still going through some stuff, but there's years of stuff that I'm finally even getting to tackle. But what I've learned is a lot of coping skills, a lot of boundaries. Like, okay, not today, not right here. I'm not ready. But a lot of it is the CBT and the DBT training that they give us here.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned is because one of the unique things we do is we actually blend veterans and active military with civilians together. Yeah. What's been your experience of getting to have both of those together for your healing process?
Honestly, it was easy, but it was hard because like you get in your brain that, oh, they're civilians, they can't relate. But then when you realize no matter what the person's path is, you're still processing some pain, some trauma, and you're not alone. It's been good because it's been showing me what the military tried to show me and integrate me, but it's honestly, it taught me how to be a civilian again. It taught me how not to be, and it's helped. Like it is also helps too because when I get flashbacks, I look at the group and I'm like, okay, I'm safe. They're not out of here, but it's just I think I didn't understand it, but I knew there was a method to the madness.
Yeah, well, and that's how it usually is. It's kind of like we want 100% veterans, but when we find out, that's how we created the reintegration protocol of, wait a minute, I'm going to be more often than not married to a civilian, live life as a civilian, have kids that are civilians, and so that's where we found and we just, you know this, we just celebrated our 25th year of doing this, but of this unique process coming down. Also, before we hit record on this, you started sharing some of your familial stuff. Is that on the table to talk about?
Yeah.
So you said your son has reintroduced you back into your life now.
Yeah.
So can we kind of dig into that of how that's opened up and how you're starting to rebuild that relationship?
Well, for me, it's just he found me on Instagram. And he saw what I was doing. And right now we're only communicating through text and stuff. He's not ready, and the mother's kind of backed off a little bit, but I told her like don't take it so hard. He's just hurting. What I've gone through has allowed me to understand him, and that in his anger, he's just hurting, but it's also gave me the motivation to say, hey, it's time to knock this stuff off, man. Like he really needs you. So, and last time I talked to him was not even a couple weeks ago through Instagram, and we're just going through I'm owning my stuff, and I told him how not an excuse, I was lost, I was broken after the war, and things really same thing. My wife was a veteran who had PTSD as well, and we did the best that we could, but we found it better for you to be raised by other family members because we didn't want to put you through that.
Wow. So you just unpacked some beautiful things I think is going to resonate with a lot of people. The first thing that I got is you've been doing the work where you're able to take ownership, releasing the guilt and the shame, which is what keeps us in the darkness, but taking ownership and allowed you to be able to hear the pain and the anger and not necessarily take it personal or spin out, but to just be there and to create the space. How did you get there? Because that's where so many people struggle.
I got there because I learned this here in Pack Shores. You can't control everything. Every person is going to be on their side of the street, and sometimes all you can do is the waiting game. Be patient. And I never thought in a bazillion of years he'd look me up after. I never thought that I'd even get a message from him. But a lot of it is with me, and like I'm telling my ex-wife, we need to be patient with him. And I've learned a lot of this through multiple treatment too. I mean, I was a kid who was angry and at his age and doing crazy stuff, doing drugs, but nobody was there for me. So I looked at it as it was honestly how I got there was just putting in the work in my treatment.
Yeah, doing the work. That's the one part I think so many people miss is they see the results on the other side. They want the results and they try to shortcut it and not do the work.
I tried that; it doesn't work.
I remember.
Yeah, yeah,
And this is part of this beautiful journey is because you've been doing the work, and the other part is you've been very transparent about it and
yeah.
putting it out there, that your son actually looked you up, saw you doing the work, and reached out and said, Dad, I think I'm at a place where we can start talking and see where this goes.
Yeah.
So how important is it as you're going through this process of really living honestly and transparently?
I like it because it's called being in integrity, walking in integrity, and yeah, it's scary at first because you're gonna show the world who you really are. But I got to a point. For me, it was more of I'm wondering what my neighbors are gonna think. I wonder, and now I don't care. I mean, I have a disease in my brain, and it's no different than having cancer. And once I got past that stigma, and then for me, and then I mean, I have a girl in my life. She knows that I'm in this program. Like working the program has honestly built me a better life. And now looking back, that's what makes it easier. Is looking back, even when I still get these cravings to use. I got such a beautiful. I've never had nothing to lose, and now I have things that I would literally do anything and die for, in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, you've built a life that it sounds like you're really enjoying and brings fulfillment and appreciation and ownership and gratitude. And
I'm not lonely anymore. I got friends.
yeah.
I got a community. It feels good. I made the change to stay here in California. So
you're a Cali guy now.
yeah, I'm a Texas guy.
Although Texas is great. I still have family in Texas
Yeah.
too. Well, speaking of Texas, so you got out of the military, and one of the things you shared is you started to share your story publicly, and you started getting some momentum and got on some stages. So kind of walk us through that journey, because that's a part that I know people would be just...
Because for a while, the way that I am and my disabilities, it was hard to work for people. So I started my own company, and I knew that it'd be a great way to go network. And then I was like, and the seminars were on communication. And so I went and and it was also a part of, I needed to just tell the truth, quit living a lie. And for once I put it was rated R, my testimony. It was tough. And that's where it started, because I started seeing all the healing. And the reason why I went to there too is I watched other speakers, and they tell me about their struggles in their speeches, in their seminars. So, but it started giving me hope, because like I was needed. I had purpose. When I got out of the military, I didn't have, outside of security, I didn't have any purpose until I was wrangling and guiding, and then I can't do that no more. So, but a lot of it's just a shot in the dark that I need some help. And I was willing to do anything to do it. And a part of it was, because I had already been in other treatments on and off. A part of it was I just needed to get out there and just tell my story, because it was eating me alive.
And so one of the things I think you hit on that was wonderful is, for some reason, when we share our pain, it can become other people's guides to healing. And we tend to think we're alone, we're broken, we're so messed up, this is my solo problem. But what we found of doing this for multi-decades is we all have very similar stories. I mean, there's always little nuances, but when we understand this is part of the human experience of there's ups, there's downs, there's beauty, there's trauma, there's all these things, and sharing, it helps give a voice to people that maybe wouldn't talk about it.
After that first time in Atlanta at the Great American Speak-Off with Grant Cardone and Pete Vargas, when a person came up to me and said, and they were fresh off the street, they said my story saved their life. And they were in a competition with me too. And not only did they say it saved my life, saved their life, but it gave them hope. And then from there, obviously through the mentorships of Grant Cardone and a lot of other people, I started finding different mentors, because that's the way. I didn't know how to be outside of a soldier. I didn't know how to be a man. I didn't know how to not order. So a lot of the mentorships were to work on your mind, your body, and your spirit. Everyone thinks it's all about the money and the high-ticket closing. That if you're not whole, you can't really connect with people. And for there, I found a family of people across the world. And then I ended up on tour. And then after my last speaking gig in San Diego, I went to the VA. And then I don't know. And then I don't know where I Googled rehabs. I take TRICARE, Pack Shores popped up, and I was like, I remember I was scared, I was high, and all I knew is I couldn't go, and I called my manager, I couldn't go back on tour, and then I ended up here. Because I was getting better, but I don't know what I think it's just like Miss Kisha would say, it wasn't my season yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where we see a lot of individuals as they start chasing either the stage or the money, they start growing and they think it's either one thing or another, as opposed to it's all inclusive. But if I keep doing this and this isn't providing that safety and that growth and that healing, most people think if I just get this, then I'll be fine. But you recognized I got this, but now it's even more clear. I really need to get help to become whole again.
Yeah, and I realized that too, because I was starting to feel like a fraud because it wasn't them. I was always transparent, but these people, I'm coaching them and I'm helping them to get better. And I was like, the skill sides are one thing of it, but I'm over here getting high. I'm over here, getting loaded. So, and I'm doing that while I'm on duty. While I'm working. But I went through different healing spurts, and at some point, I just remember being sitting at that road crying, and I'm just like, I'm done. I don't want to. I was at a point in my life because even though I didn't expect to end up on stages. I didn't. It just happened to me, and then it still finds. I still find a spotlight even though I'm here. So, but but it showed me that I have a life out there that I have. But how can I put this? That my job or what I'm doing, that can't be my complete identity. And I was having an identity crisis when I came here too.
Well, that's a huge aspect too, especially when someone is transitioning from military veteran to civilianhood, is the identity of, well, this is who I am without this. I'm an asset here. Who am I over here?
Exactly.
And just because we do something doesn't mean who we are. And so there's a lot of growth. So what are some of the questions that you had to ask and some of the work that you did to find your identity?
For me, I had to say, who was Sammy outside of the accomplishments? I mean, because my nickname's always been Sammy forever, but who is Sammy? And when I started realizing, the first thing I realized is the real Sammy is very sweet, very sensitive, very kind, very loving. But over the years, I've become hardened, and I had to be hard, and I had to be tough. I had to have thick skin. So a lot of it was just taking off the mask to get to, my inner child, and then I had to do real things like ask myself, what do I want to do in my life? What am I outside of stages? What am I outside of mentoring? And those are the questions I asked myself. I had to ask myself, what pain, because I'm a runner, I've always ran. And why am I running? When it just follows me everywhere that I go.
And what did you find out you were running from?
The pain, the trauma. I didn't want to live, I didn't want to experience it, relive it constantly. But now I'm glad that I relive it. I'm glad that I go there, because now I'll have a small PTSD flashback or something. I'm like, oh, I need to talk about this. Or I'm getting down. Why am I down? Is it my medication? Is it me? No, I'm down because I basically was living a whole lie and created a life on lies. And everything was superficial. So I had to get real. I had to get raw with myself. Vulnerable, really vulnerable, which is freaking hard.
Oh man, this is so good. I love this. So you're saying you had to get real and raw. You're glad that you revisit that now, because before you would feel it and it would actually force the action, or we'll say reaction. But you're saying now it sounds like you're able to observe it and then basically extract the lesson that this is trying to show you. It's not, hey, this is who you are. This is coming up because there's some valuable information here. Are you willing to look into this so we can give you the information?
It's coming up because I haven't visited yet. I'm the guy since I was a kid. I store everything on the inside, and then after a while, I just blow up like a bomb.
Yeah. And I love the way that you phrase that though, of what used to tank me. Now as it comes up, it sounds like it's a different question of, oh, what do I get to learn from this? This is simply just a signal that's allowing me to do some additional work.
And I realized that, not just that, but what I'm going through is for the next person wants to get sober, the next addict, the next alcoholic. Because now, gone through living what I've lived, it's made me human. And I was a robot before, a Terminator basically. But now I'm able to see my friends and my family, and now I'm able to be there for them, and I'm able to say it's gonna get better. Like I've even me and my brother Jonathan is so proud of me. He's back at home taking care of our lake house, but we've reconnected after long few years of not even seeing each other. So going through my stuff, it taught me about myself, and then it gave me some tools to help the next person struggling.
Gosh, that's so great. So, what are some of the things that you look forward to now with this newfound version of you and as you continue doing the work?
What I'm looking forward to is continue to build my life, Sammy's life. I do it sweet. I do it honest. I'm like I said. I look forward to constantly to my program that I know I'm working, and I stay on top of it because I look forward to being married one day, having a house, having a family, which I know I can, and that's just living soberly has been awesome, and I got natural highs that I would chase with drugs. The main thing is living for me, living right.
I love that, living for me and living right. So, one of the things you're talking about earlier is how important fun is in this whole journey of life. So let's dive into some of the things that you do for fun and how important fun is in recovery.
You got to give yourself a break because you can totally burn out on recovery. I've done things like we go kayaking. I've done riding in fast cars. I go bowling. I do with the guys in my house. We do movie night where we go out, we watch a movie. So I realize that just as much as that I work on my recovery, I have to have fun. I have to play, and I love reading. And I'm back with my cameras again, doing photography, and it feels great.
Yeah, you're doing what brings you joy.
Yes.
So one of the things you said when you were sharing your story is someone actually came up to you and said, hearing your share changed my life. How did it feel having that impact on somebody just by speaking your truth?
It made me feel, honestly, it made me feel needed. It made me feel purpose. They saw me for me. I had a voice. Sammy was being seen. And that's what I really needed. And that's what I've learned through treatment is I had to learn, you asked that earlier, what's my voice? Who am I? What do I want people to see? Not like in a bad way. Who would I want them to see for me? And since I've been living real and honest and being radically acceptance of everything, people have told me, I see the change in you. I see the growth when you first came through these doors, and it feels great because I'm not living a lie.
You mentioned purpose. How important is purpose in your journey?
For me, very. Because before I had no purpose, anhedonia, just floating through life. But and for me, I've learned purpose is not some accomplishment at work or some trip somewhere. Purpose is what does Sammy want in his life? Does he need a hug? Does he need a friend? And so that's my purpose, is to live as Sammy, because I went from surviving, thriving to living, and it feels great to live. It's scary too, and it lets me know I'm alive. But more than it's scary, it really makes me happy that that I went from some psychotic robot, numb, dead, and detached to a person who can actually sit here and reciprocate his emotions to you. Before I couldn't.
Yeah, it's been beautiful to see. So, how did you find your purpose through this process?
I found my purpose through the work here in Pack Shores, getting to know, working through my beliefs, basically working on the core of myself. And then with all the tools that I've learned through here and coping skills, that's how I really found. But it was the walk through your treatment program here, the model, it works.
So you talk about beliefs. What is a belief maybe you had before, the old version of Sammy, that you had to either let go of or it die off for you to adopt these new beliefs that you have
Like
now?
one of the biggest ones, that I was useless and a piece of crap. You know, and then I learned a lot of the stuff, and then I don't always have to be perfect. You know, a lot of it was just learning that those beliefs were put onto me from childhood. I learned that it comes from like 0 to 15 years old.
Isn't it amazing that we carry these beliefs that literally create our entire life until one day we ask, wait, these aren't even my beliefs. I've been carrying them my entire life.
Yeah.
And then once we start to shed that, we get to, like you said, I love that. It's one of the best questions. Who do I want to be for me?
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, if someone is listening to this and is where you used to be, what would you want to tell them? So, like, if you could go back to that version of you, what would this version tell that version of you?
That you're not alone. It may be hard to see it and feel it, but there is love and there is happiness, and allow yourself to heal. And it's okay not to be okay. It's okay just to be healing. That's what I would say.
I love that. It's okay to not be okay, and you can still heal. Man, thank you so much for coming in and just sharing your experience and your story. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, because I truly believe this gives me purpose being here, so the next person, and it makes my life make sense too, and what I went through, and it shows me how far I've come in my life. And my purpose is just to help wherever I can. I mean, not just myself. That's why I was even a soldier. But I would tell people, hang on, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I love it. The sober soldier.
Yeah.
Now fighting for healing.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah.